Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on applications of robotics and decision-making ability in electronics industries, organized by Department of Electronics Engineering of Rizvi College of Engineering. In this session, Professor Vikas Dubey sir will throw some light on an upgraded era of electronics industries where artificial intelligence and ML, that is machine learning, is used. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Time, I request sir to start with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for a nice and kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to talk on the applications of robotics in electronics industries. Like we already know that robots are used in industry. So already we know that robots are used in industry for simple operations like pick and place operation or carrying the objects from one place to other place, loading, unloading. But as now the things are changing, new industries like industry 4.0 is coming. In that, the robots are given the abilities to to make a decision. Like for example, if the robot is moving from one point to the other point, if there is any obstacle, so how it will able to tackle that obstacle? So it should able to have the decision power to take a different route. And with respect to decision making ability, it has to do that things. So whenever decision making abilities are coming, with that AI and robotics, AI and machine learning both will come. So in my presentation, the flow will be what is AI, what is machine learning and deep learning, then how machine vision and interpretation works. Then we will see some applications in robotics and industries, and then skill required for a robotic engineer. So what is AI? So whenever the word term AI means it is a branch of computer science which actually enables or which gives the ability to the machine to think like a human. They can act like human, they can sense like human, they have the cognitive skills like human. So AI is giving a like skill, giving ability of humans like skills to the machine. So if you see this diagram, AI has many subfields. So first of all, the first field we can say it is a machine learning. Based on the given, before starting with that, I'll just explain what is robot. So whenever robot is means what? It is a machine which is having the capability of programming connected through different joints, like suppose a robotic arm. Our hand is also a type of robot only, but it is human. So same way, like suppose if you're making a hand like a robot, so it is a robotic arm. So like our hand is there, like that there are tools are there. Through the tools, the robot works, does its operation. So different, like suppose in our hand only we have one joint, second joint, reached at another joint, then the fingers are there. So like that way, the robot also has a different types of joints, and these joints will connect the links. Like suppose these here two joints are there, so in between that there is a link. So robot is that type of thing. Now normally robots are used in industries for pick and place operations. So when we program the robot to do the things automatically, that will be called as soft automation. And when the robot is used to do a specific task repeatedly, that will be called as a hard automation. The example, cranes, the machine which are used to carry the objects from one point to other, heavy or load objects. So these are called as hard automated automation. But when the abilities of taking decision of small things are given, that will be called as soft automation. So there are different types of robot. There will come degree of freedom. I'll explain that with some diagram of robot in I have some diagram in the list some later slides. Okay, so continue with that. So artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, you can see in this diagram, is having many subfields like machine learning. So when we say machine learning, this is what machine is learning. So how it will learn based on the given input data to it. So it will analyze the data, pass the data, and then make some decision based on that. So it will predict the future. So that's the machine learning will have the predictive analytics as well as the deep analytics. So when we say predictive analytics means what? It will predict the future based on the past data. And deep learning, whenever we say, it is also part predicting the future only, but with deep information, like example of image recognition, image enhancement, image captioning through using a neural network. So here in the new word time neural network. So I'll just give simple thing. A neural network is a network like a human brain. Like in our brain also we have neurons which are connected through our body parts to the brain. Our body parts take the senses through the neurons to the brain. So brain takes the decision and gives a response. The same way neurons in a deep learning, neural networks also work the same way. I'll explain it with some slides in coming slides. Then AI also deals with the natural language processing. This is a very important part of AI. Like the machine is able to understand the language. So by classifying the language, that different classes are there, then translating the language, suppose in one form it is spoken, so translate it in another form, then data extraction means what is spoken. So these things, by using this process, the machine is able to speak out. Like example of Siri or Alexa or Google Talk, these are using NLP to understand the language and then respond it. So it is a speech to speech conversion actually. Then speech processing is also a part of artificial intelligence, where comes the text to speech conversion and speech to text conversion. The example, text to speech conversion is when you have the Google to read the particular file, so it will read it. So it is a text to speech conversion. But speech to text conversion means, like suppose in your Microsoft Word updated version, if you just open the dictator, so dictate, so it will open your microphone, and when you speak out, it will listen your words and it will type it. So that is speech to text conversion. So it is also AI. So Word is also having AI part in that. So that the speech processing uses natural language processing, obviously, to understand the language. Then expert system is also a part of artificial intelligence. Expert system are those type of system which have the ability to think and take a decision like a human brain. So they are very advanced system, like suppose the cyber security system or autonomous robot carrying a surgical surgery. These are the examples of expert system can be categorized. Then planning and optimization. This field of AI is used in normally industries to plan how the manufacturing can be done properly with a lesser time, so that it will increase or reduces the cost of the product, and it can be for longer time. Then vision system is also part of artificial intelligence. So here comes the computer vision or machine vision. So in vision system, the camera takes the image, it recognizes the image, objects identifies different parts of the image, and then it will give what is the different part or what to be done with that parts. And then machine vision is again giving the vision to the system. So machine. So that is the same way. Image recognition is a part of machine vision. Then robotics, which is the point of our present or our today webinar. So robotics is already, we have seen, is hard and soft automation. Now in the robot, if we incorporate these all features inside the robot, so that will become very high or a very autonomous or very high intelligent robot we can make. So that in that field the research is going on. So how to make it robot very efficient to do the work. So like example, we can see now robotics, robots are used for application purpose also. Like in New Zealand, the Domino's are using robot to deliver the pizza, like that. So robots are used in these situations also so where a human cannot work. So I'll just go to the next slide. So artificial intelligence, just now discussed, any technique that enables computers to mimic human intelligence using logic. It has logic rules like if-then rules, decision trees. So through trees, it identifies what the different classes are there. And machine learning obviously includes deep learning. Then there is a machine learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence. It's a subset of AI that includes various statistical techniques like probabilities models are there. Based on that probabilities, it predicts the future. So that enables machines to improve at tasks with experience. So every time the new data comes, it learns whether the previous output was better, this output was better, and then it will change its output. The category also includes the deep learning. And what is deep learning? It's a kind of subset of machine learning composed of algorithm that permits software to train itself to perform tasks. Now here, the software is training itself to perform the tasks like speech processing or image recognition by exposing multi-layered neural network. Now, neural network, which I just in the previous slide I explained, the same thing. It is the multi-layer. Multi-layer, I'll explain. Different nodes are there in coming slides. So, multi-layer neural network for very high or huge amount of data. So, in deep learning, the data is very huge. Extracting the information and deep information will be a deep learning phase. Now, next we will see the basics of machine learning, because we know that in machine learning the machine is tries to learn based on the data. So what are different categories which can be there in machine learning? You can see here. First one is supervised learning. The second one is unsupervised learning, and third one is reinforcement learning. Now we will see all the three one by one. Now what is supervised learning? It is also called as a task-driven learning. Task-driven learning is what? The machine knows what type of output it has to generate. The example, the data is labeled. It is already categorized. So like example, suppose if machine knows that it has to generate output as 6, and if you give the input 2 and 3, then what it will do? It will multiply both and produces the output, because it knows the output. So it knows what to do with the input. So to achieve supervised learning, regression classifications are used. Regression is the mathematics. In the mathematics already you have learned in your mathematics. So there are different types of regression, Spearman rank correlations, simple regression, then covariance things are used. And then classification is classifying the objects in different parts. Another example with the robots, if you see, suppose the robot, there are a set of 3 balls, suppose red, green and blue, set of different colors. These 3 colors ball are there, but number of balls are more. And robot knows that it has to pick up the red ball. So it will go through its vision system, it will identify the red ball and it will pick up the red ball only. Okay, so that is a part of supervised learning. Then second is unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning means data is not labeled. Output is not known to the machine or robot. Example, just now I told that number example. So 6, which was the output in the previous case, the machine in this case does not know the output. Based on the input, suppose 2 and 3 is given, it will generate all possible outcomes. So from that it will try to learn. So here to achieve this thing, clustering is used. Now clustering, clustering example I'll give you the best way. Like suppose the robot doesn't know which color ball it has to pick. Now suppose there are a set of red, green and blue ball only, but there are more numbers are there. So what robot will do, it will segregate red color balls in a one way, green color ball in a one way and blue color ball in a one group. So it will make a group and then it will try to understand how these are the different colors, these colors. So when the next input comes, it will try to understand where it has to keep it. Then the third one is reinforcement learning. Now here in reinforcement learning, a robot learns by its own based on reward and penalty. So whenever the example of this type of learning will be the game playing robot, or suppose a chess playing robot in our mobile also we play chess against the computer. So computer learns what to be the next step. So here based on the reward and penalty, computer tries to learn what should be the best outcome. So if reward is there, so outcome, the route to achieve that outcome is good. If penalty is there, then it will change that route because it will understand it is not a good. So this diagram explains this whole thing very properly, that in supervised learning, it is a simple class type learning. Like in our college, in our class, we teach the student. So what is expected outcome is there, that already we know. That is supervised learning. But in unsupervised learning, the outcome is not known. So based on the data, robot tries to find out the outcome. Now the outcome can be best outcome or it can be sometimes something else. So that is the problem of unsupervised learning. But sometimes it gives the best outcome. And a reinforcement is a robot playing a game. So that type of learning. Then we'll see what are the applications of machine learning in robotics. So normally robotics, if you implant a camera, so that camera processing the images from that camera will be giving a computer vision or a machine vision to the robot, which is very helpful for guidance and automatic inspection system. Means what will guide through the environment and also inspect what are different objects in the environment and how it has to work properly. So that is possible by using computer vision, which is a part of deep learning. Then imitation learning. Imitation learning is a type of observational learning, and it comes in a category of reinforcement learning. This is what robot tries to find an agent to act in the world so as to maximize its reward, has to get best output every time it tries to understand. So obviously it is going to use probabilistic model or Bayesian networks to get the best output. The example of imitation learning is motor babbling. I think this word is the first time we are hearing. So motor babbling is simple, how a child learns to move his hand. Like suppose like this way we are moving our hand. So child also learns to move its hand. So same way robot will try to learn to move its hand so that its vision sensor and the motor, they are both synchronized properly, and it synchronizes by itself, and that is called as motor babbling. It tries to synchronize the vision senses plus the motor position and orientation, so they both are synchronized together. It tries to learn how the hand or part of the body can be moved, and that is motor babbling, and that is type of imitation learning. Then self-supervised learning. In self-supervised learning, robot makes some set of its own training example and tries to learn from it to improve its performance. So the example is watch bots. So by watching, the robot try to understand what is the best process or what is the best understanding or best way to achieve the output like that. Then the next is assistive and medical technology. Now assistive is what, like suppose some disabled person is there, not able to see or not able to walk. In that cases, robot system can be very helpful. Like suppose if the person is not able to see, we can use image captioning. I'll explain in the coming slides what is image captioning. So through image captioning, the robot gives the instruction to the person that in front of him or her, there these objects are there, this is moving towards it. Means it able to identify the objects also. And also if the movement also is given, if some having not able to walk like that. And seniors also, the robots are helping. And in medical diagnosis and surgeries, robots are finding best application, and they are in demand in medical surgeries, because just now STAR is a smart tissue autonomous robot. It's a STAR robot which is able to stitch the pig intestine very properly, very efficiently, then even the human surgeon cannot do that. So that type of things are there where robots are playing a very important role in medical surgery, in diagnosis also. Then multi-agent learning. Multi-agent learning, the best example is that there are many robots and they are working on a particular task. So obviously when there is a multi-agent, so there will be coordination and negotiation will be there. For example, like inventory system, where there are many robots are there and they are taking their objects from one place to the other place, so that they have to make sure that there should not be any collision between them. They should able to learn move properly. So they are continuously monitoring their senses and actuating in that way. So here electronics is very useful for the sensing actuating. Other example is airborne vehicle, where there should not be any collision to understand whether the route is free or empty or not. Now we will see what is the difference between deep learning and machine learning. So it's a simple thing I'll just explain. Machine learning, suppose for example, if you take an image of a car. Now, if that image is given, we have to identify the car. So the human has to the human has to extract the feature of the image. So what are different features are there? Then that image is given to the classification, is how they are different, how different things are classified and what type of object it is. Then output will come as a car. While in deep learning, the human intervention is not there. If you take image of a car, it will just do the feature extraction through its connected neural networks and also the classification, and directly we get the output, which is either a car or not a car. So here, deep learning efficiency, or we can say the output, is always better compared to machine learning, because in machine learning human intervention is there, so that sometimes there may be a mistake from the human side, but the machine will not do the mistake if it is properly we can say learned or properly activated. So that's why deep learning gives the best result. But the problem with the deep learning, it is slower because the image data is huge and these neural networks takes time to learn. Once it is learned, then it can do operation faster. Then machine vision and interpretation. Now, what is machine vision? Means understanding the image, recognizing the image, segmenting means dividing the image into number of objects or number of parts, and then detecting the objects in the image. It is obtained by CNN. CNN is a convolutional neural network. So I think third year students already know what is convolution. Convolution is at multiplying the signal, folding the signal and multiplying the signals, finding the best output. There is convolution neural networks are used to identify the or to understand the image. But if you, after identifying the objects, if you want to give the name to the object, suppose some person is standing, so there should be like person is standing, so some child is sitting, so child is sitting. These words if I want to give, that is called a semantic understanding, and that is possible by using RNN, that is a recurrent neural network. So recurrent neural network has set of words, or we can say for NLP process, RNN is used. So CNN works on present data and does not has any memory. It means it just takes what is input you are given, it just processes it based on the weights, it gives the output. But while RNN has the memory because it has to store the past data from the past experiences, it has to store the words, so we'll compare it and give the output. The semantic understanding of images is called image captioning. So in image captioning, there is understanding the image and giving the name to the object is image captioning. Now, where are the areas in which image captioning can help? So it is very helpful in self-driving cars. You already know that there are autonomous cars are coming. So image captioning is very helpful for a car to as a vision system. So the image captioning can tell the car that whether what are the objects are there, what type of objects are there, or what is their position, whether they are moving or going away, or what is their distance. This thing can be given to the this information can be given to the car. Then it is helpful in give vision to the visually impaired person. So in the previous slides also I have explained you, suppose one person is not able to see, so by using image captioning the person can understand the surrounding, it can able to identify and at what distance the person is there, and it can freely move through the path also because it can guide it. With the NLP, obviously in this case, with image captioning plus NLP will be used because language it has to speak because they cannot see. Then real-time captions generating through CCTV camera. So CCTV camera are installed in our traffic lights. So understanding if you are using image captioning, so that if some vehicle is crossing the traffic light or breaking the traffic light, so the image caption can identify what type of vehicle it is, what is number plate, what person is sitting inside. Obviously, identifying the person and detecting which person it is a key part. Still, the research is going on to clarify that whether the person, what type of person it is. But these things can be possible or through image captioning. Even though in surveillance also it is used. Then in social media, already we have seen in Facebook or in Instagram, if you upload a photo, so automatically it identifies the person inside it and inside that photos and also gives the name to that photo. So that is an example of image captioning. Then image captioning is helpful in healthcare system also for automatic detection or classification of brain tumors or a mass or a muscle mass inside a particular region called as a tumors or lesions, abnormalities in the brain by using MRI or PET scan or understanding the MRI or CT scan properly. And then in patient continuous monitoring, so some patient is there, if we are using a camera surrounding it, so that camera can continuously monitor the screen of the monitor, so at which the BP and heart rate, blood pressure, BP, and these things are displayed. If some quantity is gone, some ahead or some abnormalities are there, then it can gives the signal to the doctor so that doctor can properly take care of that patient. Then here I'm not going in very detailed way, but just I'm giving the idea of what is convolutional neural network. So suppose here we have the input as car. Now this image will be pixeled, means for the number of the rows and columns dividing will form a pixel. These pixels are given to the convolutional layer. Now convolutional layer will be consisting of the set of filters. That filters will be implied on the set of pixels, and then the output will be given out. Convolution is multiplying and then adding. These are simple processes there in the image convolution. And the output is pooled. Pooling means what? we have to select a best output, whether it's minimum pooling or maximum pooling, is which intensity value we are taking, maximum or minimum, that is called as pooling. So in pooling, the dimensionality of the image will reduce and the output is given to the fully connected layer. When we say fully connected, because the meaning is there are simple neural network and fully connected neural network. So I'll explain that in the next slide. So fully connected neural network means what? Where the forward and reverse transmission, or forward way and reverse way, both is possible. That is what fully connected neural network. And then the prediction will come as whether it's a car or bus or train. So neural network will identify that. So CNN, best use of advantage of CNN is it is invariant to translation and rotation of the objects in the image. So if objects are rotated or translated, so that things can be taken care by the CNN because it is invariant to that. Now here we will see the basic simple diagram of CNN. So you can see on the left hand side, this is a simple neural network which will have the one input, one output and one hidden layer in between. So only once, so this only one hidden layer will be called a simple neural network. So these lines are called as the links. They carry signals from one node to the another node, and nodes are having the weights, so at which the operation takes place, like suppose convolution takes place. Then on the right hand side we can see the image of a person input which is given to the input layer. So this image will be divided and given to different input layers. Then at input layer only identifying the light dark pixel value. Then it is given to the next hidden layer which will identify the edges. We can see below. We can see below this. At this point, the image is classified into different parts. Then it is given to the second hidden layer, which we are identifying combination of edges. So where these are nose, eyes, these things are identified. Then identifying the feature, what type of feature, whether it's nose or eyes like that, and then combining them together to say whether it's a George output or not. So this is a way how the neural network works. So this slide actually just explains what is image captioning. So we have I already said that image captioning is a combination of CNN plus RNN. So on the left hand side we can say how CNN works. So input image, so convolution neural networks. So then feature vector will come, and then this feature vector is given linearly to the LSTM or RNN networks. LSTM is long short-term memory, so it is using memory. And these softmax are the activation function which are used to identify the output. So we can see here in the image, it is input image, giraffes are there, the output will come giraffes standing. So this is the process. This process is called as image captioning. Now I will go to the applications of now what I have explained. So CNN application for object detection and pixel-wise classification using TensorFlow. Now, some of you are knowing what is TensorFlow, some are not. So TensorFlow is a advanced set of library which is developed by Google for deep learning process actually, or for a complex mathematical operation. So here in this image we can understand this GIF. I can understand that the camera is able to identify what are the different objects are there, whether it's a car, traffic light, person is standing, horse is standing, then what is the type of food, if it is known to it. So based on the previous learning thing, it will identify what are different objects, and also it is giving the percentage about which it is giving the accuracy. So this is the best way to understand the TensorFlow of object detection. And next we will see the applications of robotics in industry. So this diagram actually I have included because it does explain that by using a robot and the ball, so it is using machine learning to understand to learn something, and then we are giving AI to the robot so that it can operate, or it can be in the race with the humans, and then with the image system it can be made automatic or autonomous. So this example of grasping and picking of the objects. So here on the left hand side, the robot about which I was talking initially. So you can see the robot here on the left hand side. It is a 7 degree of freedom. Whenever we say degree of freedom is what? The axis about which motion takes place, or the number of axes. Suppose if I'm rotating, suppose my finger, suppose this hand, wrist we can see. So if suppose this is a motion, so this is the 1 degree of freedom. If this is a motion, so this will be another degree of freedom. So like that way, degree of freedom will be number of motion it can perform. Now, the degree of freedom can be on one point or it can be on different points also. like suppose here 1 degree of freedom is there, then again on this we have different degree of freedom on shoulder. So like that where different 7 degree of freedom are there in this robot. It has tool which has 2 fingers. You can see on this. So this is a tool which is gripping the particular object, and this is the object bin. From it has to pick up this particular object. So it is able to identify how to pick up or where to pick up and where that object is there through this camera only. So this camera is acting as a vision system to the robot. So it is able to identify the objects which are there. So it will choose a particular object only and it will pick up that object and place it. So here on the right hand side we can see a simple operation. So you can see here the robot is removing the obstacles through the pushing, and then after pushing it is picking the object, placing on the bin, and also identifying the object which it has to pick. So obviously this whole thing is possible through vision system, decision making abilities, and its different joint motion. So they are acting in a coordination. And next, this pick and place operation using machine vision. Now this GIF we can see properly that the machine is able to identify where is the object. So it is moving to that point and it is placing at the bin, and also it is taking care that the bin is full or whether it's empty. Based on then it is selecting a different bin. So here the machine vision or the vision system is playing a very important role, and also it is doing very fast, because in robotic industries robots move very fast. So next, so this is a simple, or we can say the understanding how now we know that the surrounding is in 3 dimension. When we take the image, it is in 2 dimension. If you're using 2D camera, if you're using 3D camera, then it's a different case. So by using 2D camera, so the depth information in that image will be lost. So we have this only length and breadth. Depth information will not be there. So the straight object looks like a slanted object we can see here. And suppose robot has to pick up that object, so it has to place its hand on the top of the object. So it has to identify a particular coordinate. And this is possible by using set of hierarchical neural networks. So by finding features such as front and back edges of the top face of a box using back propagation. Now back propagation, I told you that when the output in the neural network, if the output is not satisfied, then based on the output, each node weight value will be recalculated, and that is called as back propagation. And suitable activation functions are used in the neurons. Normally a ReLU activation function, sigmoidal activation function, linear activation function, these are different functions are used at each neurons. So robot can learn where to place its finger related to these hierarchical CNN features in order to manipulate the object. So just I have given how the robot is able to identify, efficiently place its hand on the object by using CNN. Now this is one of the best example of learning or playing robot through reinforcement learning. So based on the penalties and rewards, the robot learns to solve this Rubik's problem. Then we will see what robots in industry. So I'm going in the robotic applications. Sorry. Now you can see normally robots in electronic industries are used to pick and place of electronic components with good precision and accuracy through a sensor. Robots move very fast. They have to pick up the object and place on the PCB. So that should be done very accurately. As we know that PCB size is reducing because we are going towards the miniaturization of the quantities or of the things. So obviously the chip size is going to reduce. So normally 150 micron is 150 nano size is there, which is used in the electronics company. So at that size we have to place the objects properly. So there robots play a very important role with the good accuracy and sensors. Then robot, after producing the wafer, it has to move from one part to other part. Then it has to be applied some glue or like that thing. So during motion, it has to avoid and find cracks in damaging silicon wafers. Robots are used in clean room of chip manufacturing, because in chip manufacturing the room is very clean. There should not be any dust. If any dust comes, so the chip will not work properly. There will be a problem in the chip. So that's why room cleanliness should be maintained. Before going inside the room, they have to take the certificate of cleanliness. So robots are used in that places because humans may sometimes produce a dust. Then the very best example of use of SCARA robot. SCARA is Selective Compliance Assembly Robotic Arm. It is a full form. SCARA is Selective Compliance Assembly Robotic Arm, which is a 4 degree of freedom robot, and Delta, which is a 6 degree of freedom robots are used in electronic industry. So SCARA are used for electronic product assembly, and Delta is normally used for solar application for assembling solar panels. And obviously these operation takes they are done at very faster speed. So robot has that accuracy to do the work properly and very efficiently. Now the automotive industries, already we have seen, know that painting, welding, part transfer, loading and unloading are used in automotive industry. Then site documentation. If suppose we have a robot.
Sir,
yes, ma'am.
sir, before moving ahead, there is a request from the student. Like, could you please talk about newer and emerging applications that are using these soft automation techniques?
Can you repeat this, ma'am?
Newer and emerging applications that are using these soft automation techniques, which you have explained.
Okay, so just now I explained about that image of object detection, that TensorFlow diagram. That is actually emerging technique in which the research is going on to efficiently understand the objects inside the image and identify the person inside the image. That is one example. The other example in robotic industry, in the industry, is like moving the parts of the object from one point to the other point, so there should not be any collision. So here the image processing plays a very important role to identify that piece. Okay, so I'm continuing with that only. Like suppose site documentation. Suppose you have a robot, you place a 360 camera on the robot, and the robot knows where to move in the company, that it knows the surrounding. So the robot can be so that robot can identify or can keep a track of the whole surrounding, and that's called site documentation, whether the work is going on or some problem is there, like that. And then leak detection, in the same way, suppose with the camera, if you have some sensor installed on the robot, like a suppose gas sensor or temperature sensor, so the robot can understand where that leak is taking place, and it can give the notice to the human or for safety purpose. Then thermal inspection, if you implant a thermal scanning camera on the robot in case of nuclear power plant, suppose take example of nuclear power plant, where the particular part temperature is increasing. So by using thermal inspection camera, the robot can understand where these are the temperature is increasing, so it can give the alarm to the security personnel. Then in radiation detection, so suppose in the case of nuclear power plant only, suppose where the humans cannot go because radiation level is very high. In that places, robots can go inside. It can understand what is radiation level and can do particular tasks. Then tunnel inspection. Suppose normally tunnel is made through the rocks or through the mountains. So mountains are bombed. So after bombing, the place is created. So whether that place is safe for the humans to work, so that inspection can be done by using a robot, by sending a robot inside first through the sensors and camera, and then whether it's safe or not, after that the human can work. So there also robots plays an important role. Then in telemedicine means what? Diagnosing at a longer distance. Means suppose humans cannot present at that place, so through the robot only we can give the what is the problem the person is having. It can predict what to take, and also what for transportation. The example in this COVID situation in UK and Italy, Amazon is using drones to transport the medicine. So there also robots play a very important role. And the last one is the research field. The research field is always open for the robots, because whenever the motion takes place, in a heavy application, there is a jerk in the motion. There should be coordination through all the body parts of the robot, through all joints. So there the research is taking place, how efficiently we can do that. So we can see this is one of the highest, or we can say advanced AI things, which is just called as humanoid robot called as Sophia. Now this robot is a best AI. How it is, what are things are there, I'll explain. This robot can actually talk, so it has the natural language processing. It can make a continuous eye contact with the person, so that it has very strong vision system. It can have the facial it can able to identify the facial expression of the front person, and even it itself can make a 62 different types of facial expression. So it is using image processing, NLP, or different or AI techniques to understand. It is also able to understand the emotions somewhat, not completely. Somewhat emotions also it can understand, can even give the speech. So this you can see CNBC, it has given the speech of half an hour. It is developed by Hong Kong, developed by Hanson Robotics, Hong Kong based company. So this is the best automatic or autonomous robot. And up to this point, any doubts are there? No?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, what are the skills required for robotic engineers in the robotic industry? So first of all, we should be able to understand the problem, because in robotics, the problem are not easy. It's a type of complex problem, because the robot has to move from in 3D. You have to understand 3D, because when a robot is moving, it has its own position, that is home configuration value. It has to move to the destination. So it uses direct kinematics and inverse kinematics, because inverse kinematic means from destination to the robot, and direct kinematics means robot to the object. So normally inverse kinematics are used to understand the motion of the robot, and also there are different types of plannings are there. So problem in the robot is complex. So to understand the problem in the robotics, obviously we should know the basics of our domain, whether you are mechanical engineering, whether you are electronics, whether telecom or computers, all the things are used in robotics. Like programming thing will come. Then again, the sensors and actuators will come, which is a part of electronics and electricity. Then communication between them will also part of electronics and communication. Then the machine, how its inertia is maintained. That means when it is moving from one point to the other point, its inertia should be maintained. It should not collapse. So there mechanical things also comes. So it's a complex thing, and each domain will have the ability or have the opportunities in this field. Then robotics savvy, obviously we should have the interest in the robots, then only we can work in robotic industry. Means we should have the practical knowledge in the field, which gives the ability to make good judgments in some cases. Then programming mindset. Now though we have seen through the different webinar conducted by Rizvi College of Engineering, we have seen that whatever may be the branch, everyone should know some little bit programming. So programming mindset should be there, because robot decision is totally programming. So the programming mindset is an ability of program solver to run any programming language. Remember that any programming language will work in robotics. Then system thinking. So what is in a system? Now robot is a whole system. It understands the environment through its sensor, then process that information and gives the response through its actuators. Now, obviously, through actuator, there will be the movement of the body, like when we move our body, same way, robot will also move. So that is a whole system. So system thinking is very important. It's able to understand the interaction between the robots, the surrounding, and so whatever softwares and hardwares are used to understand, and they can make a decision and give the response. Then obviously, artificial intelligence basics is important to go in the industry. So AI is important. Just now, for some part of the basic things will be required, not much. Then the Python programming. Again here comes the Python programming in robotics. Yeah, in robotics also Python can be used, because Python has a ROI as a library, robotic library, which can be downloaded in the Python programming, and we can do the Python program, robotic programming through Python also. And so and machine learning, already we have seen machine learning and AI already is done in Python. Even though TensorFlow can be used in Python very efficiently. And the last one is ability to learn new technologies. Obviously, there will be nothing is possible because we have seen that from 90s to the recent things, robotic industry or any industry if you take, it has changed in many ways. So whenever the change in many ways means, so there are new technology or new things are coming. So we should be keen to learn new technologies. This is very important, whether you are at this or a smaller kid stage or a younger stage, or you can be an old stage. Every time you have to be keen to learn. So these are some robotic companies which hire robotic engineers. So Mitsubishi Electric, Rethink Robotics, AMP Robotics, ABB, UBTech, Boston Dynamics, Epson Robots, Fanuc, Rockwell Automation, Canvas Technology. So these are different robots which are used. These are the sources of my presentation. Thank you. I'm open for any question or suggestions.
Thank you, sir. Students, if you want to know more, then session is open for question answer round. So to what extent do you predict that AI will replacing jobs?
Yeah, that is actually the right now in the industry there is a problem. Many people thinks like AI will or the robotics will replace the job. Actually, if it is done in the larger scale, yeah, it will replace. But that's why in the industry, robots are used in those applications only where the humans make error, or where humans find the job boring, or where the humans cannot work, or where their ability will not be helpful. In that cases only the robotics are used, so that giving this machine learning and AI abilities so they can able to work very efficiently. While other things in that like human, so that is a problem. Like Tesla owner also has a problem. Like he says that robotics is like a robot autonomous intelligence, and humans where humans will go, or where the job will. So at least in that field, up to that point, robots are not going and they are not used.
Sir, there are few more questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please take it quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the problem possessed in AI? Problem in AI.
As such, there is no problem, but suppose that AI is used for any misfortunates or some wrong intentions, obviously it will be problem.
Sir, considering AI dependent industry, be it partially or completely,
Yeah.
is there any chance that any kind of corruption in code or something lead to way more dangerous problem like complete breakdown?
Yeah, it is possible. It can be possible, but we have to make sure that our code should be very safe. It should be properly encrypted, and because obviously the hackers will be there, which will try to break these things. But we have to make sure that we should be ahead of them. Then it is possible. Yeah, it is possible.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you for so much for updating with the latest requirement in the industries.
Thank you, ma'am.